Alfonso's here, the godfather of the game. Many years of wisdom, remember his name. Speakers on stage, they'll drop the keys. Unlock your power and seize the breeze.
But here's what I know about myself.
Yeah.
Okay? I'm going to win. Right? So that's a belief that I have, right? Every year, they change the rules in the NHL. But every year, professional hockey players show up and play the game within the new rules. So capital gains has increased. Whoop-de-doo. The same wind blows on us all, right? Like, I mean, it's not like someone else has an advantage that I don't have. We just got to figure things out, right? We got to figure things out.
All right. We're live, brother.
Woo!
Alfonso Quadra in the house. How you doing?
Let's go.
Yeah, man, I'm excited to do this with you. I always love doing this with you in person, and I'm always impressed with what you're doing. I watch everything. I like everything. Go back. Go check all the likes, man.
I'm gonna hold you to that. No, and I was telling you.
Yeah.
Look, every time I come here,
Yeah.
you're leveling up. You're leveling up.
Thanks, brother.
So, for the first time we did this was like online. Yes, sir.
You like that sound?
For the people that are listening,
I got
just
heavy
having
hands.
a few drinks.
I got heavy hands here. Isn't that good?
Yeah, it's good.
Yeah. So what were you saying?
Every time I come here, there's like something new, right?
Yeah.
And you're evolving in terms of this podcast.
Cheers,
salud,
brother.
salud.
Salute.
Salud. Let's have it. That's what it is.
Smooth. Smooth. Beautiful.
Yes.
Might as well finish it, man. Put the rest in there.
Yeah.
And we'll have a good talk.
Yeah.
But
You're always leveling up.
Thanks, brother.
And I love that. Evolution
yep.
is important. I always tell people, start however you can. It's okay to start with a low budget, with a little handy cam. As long as you always level up, right?
Yep.
As long as you're always improving, I think people will. There's always an allowance for that from your audience.
Yeah.
You could start with your iPhone and non-edited videos on YouTube. As long as you're always improving, you're always getting better, and your audience will get to grow with you.
And people like to watch the evolution. They'd like to go back and take a look at where was Alfonso, where Alfonso had a head full of hair, and he's standing in front of like the single family home,
Yes.
that gets to it allows people to see that he did start somewhere.
Yes,
there is growth that's available for me as well too, and if he did it, and if I watch what he's doing and how he's doing it and what he's sharing, then maybe I can do that too.
Yeah.
And it gives people hope. And I think I want to start off this segment with talking about mindset. I usually do that at the end, but I want to start off with that first. And I think the reason being is because somebody was asking me the other day, like, hey, did you start off with Rich Dad, Poor Dad? And I'm like, no, I didn't. I eventually got there, but I actually started off with mindset. I started off with The Secret. Then I went to Jim Rohn. Then I went to Brian Tracy. Then I went to Zig Ziglar. Then I got into real estate. I actually did it a little bit different, a little backwards.
Yeah.
But why do you think mindset is so important? And when did you really kind of understand the importance of that and making that a part of your life?
There's something to be said about belief. You heard the old story of Roger Bannister, right? The 4-minute mile. No one could run a 4-minute mile for years and years, forever, right? Like scientists got together and said, the human body is unable to run a mile under 4 minutes. It's just impossible. And
right.
Collectively, scientists, and if it's science, it has to be true. Like it's been written, right?
Right.
And so, this guy Roger Bannister, if you know about Roger Bannister, he wasn't even an athlete. That's the story, right? Like he was just someone that wanted to prove this theory wrong. And without having too much knowledge of exactly what happened, turns out that he breaks this record in 1954. And other people that were real athletes, they're like, that guy did it? That guy, right? And we all know someone that, you know, for whatever reason, he's not that bright or kind of ugly and maybe a little bit smelly, and you see them doing amazing things in life. You're like, that guy did it? Like, how can they do it? And like, you know, why can't I do it?
Right.
And the second you start thinking about that, like if the idea enters your mind, and then there's a belief there that you can do it, then it's not as hard as if you think, I can't do it, right? If you can't do it, you can't do it. If it's impossible, it's impossible. When I was a kid, you know, I lived in, you know, income housing, right? Like low income housing, subsidized housing, right? We lived in the projects. And no one thought you could do anything, right? Like I remember like playing basketball with my friends, and we're looking at apartment buildings, and I'm like, guys, can you believe that someone collects the rent of all of these people? And then maybe we could do this. And my friends are like, nah, this is not possible. This is just for rich people or whatnot. So, okay, if you don't believe it, then that's it, you know? But the second you know that someone has done it before, in fact, if you know that someone has done it that's just like you, now what happens to your mind is that you enter the realm of belief that, yes, it's possible. Yes, someone could do this. And so weeks after Roger Bannister broke this record, real athletes started to break the record as well. Even months after, you know, several people had broken the record. No one has done it before 1954. After 1954, everybody started doing this. And then, since then, thousands and thousands, I don't even know how many thousands of people have broken this record, including high school kids and junior high school kids.
Right.
And so it all comes down to belief. And the second you enter the realm of belief, now you can expand. And this is how you can expand your mindset. You can't expand your mindset and tap into more of what you're capable of if you don't believe it's possible.
Right.
It's almost that's impossible. Things will just happen, right? And if they happen for you, you will sabotage yourself and you'll start moving backwards.
Right. And so then now there's like these new neurological pathways that are now being created and formed in your mind. You know, I talk about this all the time. It's, you know, look, if you want to be wealthy, study wealth. If you want to be healthy, study health. Yeah. And sometimes people want to take this dirt road, right? But yet there's this freeway that is over here that you can take, and you could drive the Ferrari on a dirt road or a Pinto on the freeway. That Pinto is going to get ahead way quicker, way faster if you just follow those systems. And so when that guy finally broke that record, somebody probably, they all sat down. How did you do it? What was your technique? What was your stride like? And so then now you have a system.
But you know what? You know what studying does? When you study wealth, you know what it does? It reaffirms your belief that it's possible. Yeah. And the more you start to notice clues. So what happens is, you know, at the very beginning, you're unaware, right? It's like people say you have to be at the right time, the right place. Well, it's always the right time and it's always the right place. You're just unaware of the opportunities that are around you. Just like very similar to, you go buy a car that you never heard about before. You buy this car and all of a sudden you see it everywhere, right? And so now it's entered your consciousness. It's entered your belief system.
Right. And
so the more stories, the more you study wealthy people, you're like, that's it. That's all they did, right? Like you realize it's not rocket science,
right? It's that whole saying, right? The harder you work, the luckier you get. And it's because now those opportunities are continually presenting itself, but now you can act on those opportunities because you have the skill sets, because you've read the books, because you've attended the events and gone to these classes, whatever it may be, and now all of a sudden, like, you can see the opportunities. That's the thing. Now, I will say this though, and I want to ask you, how do you handle this? Because even though we have the right mindset, you still have a bad day, Alfonso. You still have difficulties. How do you handle a bad day? How do you go through those difficulties?
First of all, I know I'm going to have lots of bad days, right? And I'm a big believer on expansion and contraction. I always tell people, strive to always be in consistent expansion. Be in expansion mode. It's like a plant. It's growing or it's dying, but it's not doing both. Right. So
it's very simple and easy to understand analogy.
It's like in a day whether you're in expansion or contraction that day. Right? And so I don't think you should be afraid of contraction. I don't think you should be afraid of bad days. Just don't live there.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Don't live there. And then once you own it, and then go back to expansion.
Right.
Because momentum works both ways. It's either momentum, upwards, and you're feeling good, smelling good, and all things in life are happening for you, and then you start attracting more things to you. But the second you start going the other way, it's the same thing. You start feeling bad, and you're not as confident, and now you're no longer playing to win. You're playing not to lose.
But it also sounds like you're saying to accept it as well, to accept the bad days or the bad moments. Maybe dwell on it a little bit, reflect in it. Why did this happen? Okay, what can I learn from this? And then now you move forward.
Well, that was the issue that I had with the movie The Secret. Because the movie The Secret, and I, by the way, I think was a phenomenal movie.
Yes, it was missing pieces, but
it opened up everybody's eyes
100%
in terms of positivity and the power of positivity. But the movie suggested in a way, and of course maybe they didn't have enough time to finish the movie. I mean, it was only 90 minutes or whatever. But ultimately the suggestion was that if you just simply think positive thoughts, all of these things are going to happen, right? And so people ended up just waiting around for their stuff.
Right.
They're just like, I'm thinking about the Ferrari, but it never shows up.
Right.
And so, in terms of positive thinking, I like to think about positive intelligence, right? At some point, you have to stand in your truth. Positive thinking says, if the house is burning, you should be positive and say, the house is not burning, the house is not burning. When you know inside the house is burning, right? And so you don't make decisions that are going to help you. You are in denial. And, that's a dangerous place to be because you're only going to spiral downwards, right? Where you could have saved a day. And the truth is, hey, my mortgage payment has doubled, right? And, I'm stuck. Accept it. Stand in your truth. But how can you make things better? Successful people ask better questions. As a result, they get better answers. And so, how can I make this better? The word how, anytime there's a challenge in your life, change it to a question. Oh, the interest rates are high. Okay, so what can I do now? What's my next step? What are a variety of different steps that I can take right now to correct this, to make this better? How can I make this better? Anytime you make it into a question, you instantly empower yourself, and now you start moving towards expansion versus contraction.
Yeah. And that's one of the reasons why I've always enjoyed doing this podcast, because I get to sit here and just ask questions. And it also has completely transformed the person who I am today, because it's continually challenging my beliefs. I'm like, well, why would you think that? Or why do you act that way? And I'm like, I never thought about it, or I never looked at it that way. And it's so important. And I think what you said, about asking intelligent questions, but you got to keep asking questions to get to more intelligent questions, and I think that comes with courage as well too, because a lot of times you're sitting in a room and you won't ask that question, and guess what, that person besides you asks a question like, I was going to ask that question. So ask those questions.
Well, what happens is sometimes people have this, they're in denial and shit's going down, but they're in denial. And so what happens as time goes by, and maybe they're afraid of judgment, they're afraid of what other people may think.
That's a big one.
And so what happens is they never You know, they don't look for help. They don't find answers. And then, like, overnight, people that we know, you know, all of a sudden they're like, oh my God, like that guy, you know, like I didn't know he was missing his mortgage payments or whatever. And it's because of this idea that everything should be hunky-dory all the time.
Yeah.
And, you know, real true leaders, you know, true leadership, and, you know, and I think it was Martin Luther King that said, you know, the character of a man it's really proven when, you know, things are going wrong, not when everything is right. Anybody can look good when things are going good. But the measure of a man is going to be, it's going to be measured based on what they do when things are not going right.
Yes.
And were they honest? Were they communicative with their people? And, you know, that's what leadership is, right?
100%. And listen, even with everything happening, listen, a lot of people are not immune to this.
Mm-hmm.
Even I'm not immune to it. And so over the last, 6 weeks, I've been reaching out to some of my mentors, people that I look up to, and saying, look at what I've been doing. What do you think I should do here? Where should I shift over here? I think that's really important. But sometimes that ego gets in the way, and you're looking a certain way online in social media, and like, well, I have to have all the answers because I've been the leader. And sometimes it's good to reflect and push that ego aside, but it can be difficult, right?
Positive intelligence.
Yeah.
Stand in your truth, right?
Yeah.
I can respect someone that says, hey, I messed up, right? But this is how we're going to make it better.
Right.
Versus, you know, you find out to the end that it was just smoke and mirrors.
Right.
Right. And that is what happens when you have corrections in the market. You know, Warren Buffett says, you know, when the tide goes out, you find out who's been swimming naked.
Exactly. Hey, listen, what's your favorite quote? I want to get a couple more mindset stuff in here, and then we're going to move on. What's one of your favorite quotes? One that changed your life?
Jim Rohn.
Oh, my favorite. That's our favorite, though. We've talked about this before.
I love Jim. I remember driving, and I would just drive around the neighborhood just because I had the CDs, right? You didn't have you couldn't bring it with you. You know, I had the CDs popped in my car. Yeah. And just drive around the neighborhood, and because I needed to finish that, you know, that section, that last CD, and you know, by the time I went home, I wasn't quite ready yet, you know, and one that has shaped my entire career is success is what you attract by the person you become. Success is what you attract by the person you become, and it's that one quote has shaped and molded me, because, you know, we tend to focus on the outcomes. You know, we all understand that we need to set goals, and we all are always trying to expand our goals. And, you know, often what I teach people is like, okay, you know, if you're reaching all of your goals, you're probably, you know, aiming too low, right? Like your goals are too small. Because the idea of a goal is to help you stretch and expand and to be an expansion. But the end result is not the gift. The gift is the person that you're going to become on the way to achieving those goals. That's the real gift.
100%.
And so success is what you attract. So you're going to attract all the things in your life based on the person that you are and who you became on the way to achieving those goals. And that is the reward, not the end result, not the outcome, not the Ferrari in my driveway. It's the person that you are becoming on the way to achieving those things. That's the reward.
100%. I'm gonna rhyme off 4 Jim Rohn quotes right now. See if I remember them, and then we're gonna move on. Don't wish it was easier. Wish you were better.
Yes. Don't wish for less problems.
Ask for more skills. Right. You know, work hard on your job, you can make a living. Work hard on yourself, you can make a fortune. And make the goal to become a millionaire. This is my favorite one.
But not
for the money, but for the person you'll become to achieve it.
And that was Schultz. That was his mentor that told him
Yes. Listen, whoever's listening right now, go and get Jim Rohn CDs and listen to them. They're incredible.
So you said CDs, by the way. I think you can probably get.
You can get them online. YouTube. You can find them on YouTube.
And it's all like, you know, a lot of the and if you listen to a lot of the people out there right now, especially, people that are our age, you'll see that there's a lot of that spirit is there with everyone, right? So Jim Rohn lives forever with all of us.
Yeah.
And often, for example, the message I received the message, and I've translated from my own perspective over the years. So when you listen Jim Rohn, you will listen to everyone, right? Like, I can't think of one person that he hasn't influenced.
Well,
right?
Tony Robbins was with his mentee.
Exactly, right?
Yeah.
It's like that is the source, right? That's the source of all of the people that are out there now. He's imagine the people he's impacted.
Yeah.
And
that was one of my biggest regrets is not seeing him live, because he was still alive when I was studying.
Yeah, you take it for granted.
Yeah, yeah. But all right, let's move on. Let's move on to Wealth Genius and what you've built and your Expand conferences that you do. Let's touch on that and what that's all about, because you've built something incredible.
Look, this is my biggest passion project. I mean, as you know, I'm an investor.
Yeah.
I'm a creator. I have I'm an artist, right? And I've been in this industry for like 16 plus years, and I'm talking about the mentoring. I've been in real estate for 25 plus years, but about 16 plus years ago, I made a decision that what I wanted to do with my life is spend the rest of my life in service to others, right?
It leads to greatness.
Yeah. And I entered the role of mentor. I entered coaching. I entered speaking from stages, and I never thought that this was a job, or I never thought that this was a thing that people did, right? And it was never part of my plan. The teaching part, it was never anything that I said, it's going to be part of my, people write their goals down and it's like, one day I want to inspire millions or whatever.
Right. Well, you had a fear of public speaking as well.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
I think we might have talked that, so what
myself as well.
Yeah. So what I would suggest people do that are listening to is go back and listen to all of our podcasts that we've done together.
Geez.
And it's like a series.
Yes. Well, I was even going to say, go back and listen to my first podcast.
Yeah.
You could hear the non-confidence in there.
Yeah.
I was more like, hey, welcome to my show. I hope what's the first question? And I remember one time too, I actually had all the answers written out when I was a guest on somebody's podcast. That's how nervous I was.
Wow.
I had the answers written out, and they asked one of the questions out of order. I'm like, what the fuck are you doing? You're messing me up. But
Success
listen, but
is what you attract by the person you become.
Yeah, but you've got to keep doing it. It's 10,000 hours. You got to put that work in, that hustling.
So for me, it was not. It was not part of the plan. It became part of the plan when I realized that my story was unique. Because, I didn't think my story was that special. Right, but it became evident when people started to resonate with it, and people started to tell me, "Look, you got to continue what you're doing. Right, you're doing this. This is good work," and it brought me a lot of fulfillment. And so I made a decision 16 years ago, that I was going to spend the rest of my life in service to other people. Right, helping them, and my vision is to inspire people to create financial freedom for themselves. And the only way that I know how to do that is basically through real estate, right? And so I went on this, on this journey of teaching people. I mean, I've had events with 2 people have showed up, right? And
me too.
and those 2 people, guess what? I give them the best, advice and the best talk I've ever given. I'm not gonna judge it based on the people that are in front of me, because it wasn't about the money.
Right.
Right. I've never been a money driven person.
Yeah. And you also encourage those two people are there.
Yeah.
Okay, like, listen, there was 20 people that registered. You two are the action takers.
Congratulations.
Yes. Yeah.
One of them was my mom. So I'm just joking. I'm just joking.
So let me ask this question.
No, but I want to get back to the question, the original question about Wealth Genius.
Yeah.
Is like, that evolved into, me building this career. And then I was hired by other educational platforms to go train for them, which meant that I had to kind of fold the things that I was doing before. And, I spent, the majority of my career before COVID, traveling and inspiring people, everywhere. And COVID came and no more events. There's no more events. And so I thought, this is my time to just kind of do my own thing, right? Like, It's like the writing's on the wall. I think life is happening for me. I'm going to have to adjust and kind of create my own thing. And so that's exactly what I did. During COVID, I said, okay, all these people that have been asking me to mentor them and coach them, I'm available. And people came in droves because during that time it was like we want to get into multifamily, because people watched my entire career, and I've been very vocal and I've shown everything of what I've done. I mean, if you go to my YouTube channel, subscribe, hit the bell, get notified the next time I'm doing another video. But I have 1,500 videos on my YouTube channel, and I've basically documented everything so people could see. And I've grown up, and I've built my entire career in front of people's eyes. And so people resonated with me. I'm not a cookie cutter guy. I'm an immigrant. I came from, Ottawa housing, and so I think that clicked with a lot of people because, slowly I started to really have a momentum. And at some point I had to name the thing, right? People were like, ooh, what group do you belong to? Alfonso's group. They're like, oh, okay, that sounds like a cult or something. Alfonso's Inner Circle. And so I was, so this is in 2020. We're like, what are we going to name this thing? And so my business partner, Ed, shout out Ed, which is our integrator. If you've
is he more like behind the scenes?
Yeah, behind the scenes and back end, and he's built the whole infrastructure, and
you need somebody like that.
Oh man, do
if
you ever?
Not?
Listen, when I met Ed, I knew we had something, right? Because he was my student.
So were you like almost like opposites?
Yeah, no, he was my student,
right?
And I'm, I'm showing him how to buy apartment buildings. He bought his first apartment building, but I could see his process and how he puts his thoughts together, and kind of like, and his, through the conversations that we were having, he was telling me about he worked on startups, and he built infrastructures for other companies or whatnot. And I'm like, I think you're the guy. Right. I think you're the guy.
So very technically strong, process-driven, system, operations.
Ops.
You need a strong operations manager because that's not your strong suit.
No,
your strong suit is to be in front and to inspire and to bring people in. Yes, the visionary.
So one book that I would recommend to your listeners, if they haven't already read it, is Rocket Fuel.
Okay.
It talks about the visionary and the role of the visionary and the integrator.
Yeah.
And the way I describe it is like love languages for entrepreneurs, right? If you remember the book, The 5 Love Languages, everybody's loved in a different way, and what happens is we tend to love people the way we receive love, and maybe that's not their love language. Your love language is different than someone else's, and so when you understand the integrator's role. And how valuable they are, and the integrator can also read the book and understand the visionary role, right? And now they know exactly how each other fits. It's like Steve Jobs doesn't happen without what's this guy's name? Wisnick.
I can't remember.
Yeah.
But I know what you're talking about.
So the integrator in Apple, right? So there's always going to be a visionary and an integrator. Together, you can build something amazing. Anybody can build something okay, right? It's anybody can sell a product, and every, you know, people like me are, I think, grow on trees. You know, people that have ideas, and you know, but if you don't have the integrator, what happens is those ideas, maybe you get people excited at first, but it doesn't have longevity,
right?
Because it's not built on a strong foundation.
Because what you've built, just so many moving pieces. And even from when I'm on the outside looking in, I'm like, how are you doing this all? And it is, and just touch on that a little bit. Like, how have you? So it's you've got
team.
Ed, you've got operations, but then how do you put the right people in the right places? How does that all come together?
Well, what happens is, you know, in terms of, you know, building an amazing company, you need to communicate that vision to the people that are plugged into it. And so at the very beginning, you know, when people are getting results, they'll stand by the product, right? So before we even had a name, everybody was coming. There was no marketing. It was just, you know, it was just me on Instagram lives or whatnot, and people were coming, and I had to now step up and build infrastructure and systems to be able to support like all the people that were hitting me up. But that, I mean, it sounds easy enough, but I had put in work since 2007, right? I mean, all of that now I was cashing in on all the efforts that I put out and all the people that I connected, all the people that I helped. Now it was almost like I became a magnet.
Right. And so now you're attracting other leaders that see your vision and that want to be a part of that vision that you're building.
Yeah.
Now, there's something else that you've done incredibly well with as well too, and I was part of it, which was the Quadra Youth Foundation.
Yes.
Man, what a fun event. Man, those kids were stomping that ground and banging that table. You know how much trouble we got into?
We are in Calgary. Yeah! And we are about to make history because for the very first time in Wealth Genius history, we are bringing the Expand Investor Conference right here to Calgary. And we're excited. November 6th, 7th, and 8th. Get your tickets right away because we're going to have over 60 different presenters, over 100 different vendors, over 1,000 different attendees, all at Expand Investor Conference right here in Calgary. There's never been a better time to get involved in real estate than right now. You got to come and learn how to optimize and maximize all the opportunities that are available right now. It's our 10th edition of this massive real estate investor conference, one of the biggest in Canada, and we're making history because we're bringing it to Calgary for the very first time. Get your tickets. Be there or be square.
You should have told me that, brother.
I didn't even know. Ben.
You know, I always tell people, okay, and maybe it was my fault because
it's all good. It's all good. It was for the kids.
If you bring Alfonso to your event, okay, if you're gonna have me at your event, expect for the people to feel it. You know what I mean? Everyone's gonna know what's going on.
The 4th floor, on the 3rd floor, on the 2nd floor, on the main, on the same floor. Listen, you know what though? When they came and they saw what we were doing, they're like, okay, we get it. It's for the kids. Mm-hmm. It's a one-time thing, like, you know, for the year. So it was fine. But man, we made noise in there. But touch on that, and also too what you're doing in Africa.
Because
I think that's really important.
Good. So let me finish the thought on Wealth Genius.
Yeah, go ahead.
So there was, you know, what are you going to name this thing? And people are like, well, we want it to be, you know, like, so I put it out to the team and they're like, oh, it should be Alfonso something course or whatever. And I said, you know what? I don't want my name attached to it. I want it to have legs beyond my years, right? And I think the vision, it was greater than what I could even imagine. And, you know, maybe I won't even see the full vision, right? But at the end of the day, we came up with the name Wealth Genius because these are two words that everybody wants to be associated with. And it gives us the opportunity to do multiple different things in the realm of helping people build wealth. Because ultimately, the vision is, to create a business and real estate platform for everyone. But the ultimate mission is to inspire time freedom to the world. We want to inspire the world to create time freedom.
Well, that's what we're all chasing, right? It's time
Yeah.
freedom. I think you start off with financial freedom.
Sure.
And then all of a sudden you're like,
Sure.
well, hold on a second. Well, why am I doing what I'm doing?
Yeah.
Oh, it's actually
Yeah.
really time, because that's a finite.
Yeah. And so that's essentially that's what Wealth Genius is. And the vision, the mission, the core values that we have created, we have attracted people that are very much like us. And what happens is it takes on a life of its own, because now people are going out and talking about Wealth Genius when I'm no longer in the room. And to me, that's how a brand starts and it begins. And so with that same thought in mind, the inspiring of people to create time freedom, a long time ago, I made a decision that I was going to spend the rest of my life doing this. And I thought, okay, I can help adults get wealthy. I can do that all day long. But adults, they come with their own, already their own paradigms, they've built through the years. And so I thought I can impact more people if I just get them a little bit younger. And so then I started going into the schools and teaching financial literacy and creating programs. And what I found is such a pushback. I was surprised. I just thought they didn't know, or they were waiting for someone like me to come along and say, hey guys, I got what you need. Like young people need to have skills that are going to help them in the future. I thought it would have been really well received.
And it wasn't?
It was a lot of pushback. Number one, there's no budget for things like this. So that's number one. Number two, every I would say every educator has their own perspective of what financial literacy is and how it should be taught, right? Some people think it should be taught, and it should be all about the compound interest and how you should save money and, put money in RSPs. Some people think that that's how financial literacy should be taught, which I get it, because that's what they understand. And so what I realized is that the majority of people in these roles are actually financially illiterate.
Yes.
And so it's like, someone trying to teach you how to read that doesn't know how to read.
Well, it almost also seems like it's built by design.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's not. I don't feel it's broken. I feel like it's actually designed that way.
And it makes sense, because during the industrial era, right, Henry Ford, he was the one that was credited with the assembly line, and you needed to, because now we're entering this era of like industrial era where we're building, creating assembly lines, products. You needed a system that created employees that would be really good on an assembly line. And the reason why they have the bell is because on the assembly line, they ring the bell and then they would change positions at every bell. So you needed people trained, from young to hear this bell, and they could just, change where they were working.
That's interesting.
And so
you plug them, you put them in the system from young, you plug them into the new system when they're finished school to now go into the workforce to hear this bell for break, for lunch. And so they're so used to it, and they're waiting for this bell.
Yeah.
And so for that 15-minute or the half hour or hour break. So you're right. So it was built by design.
And then the last thing is they're like, okay, there is some teachers that are like, I get it. Financial literacy is important. We want these skills, because financial literacy is one component. The other is the skill sets and the mindset that I need them to have in order to be able to, for this to resonate with them, right? It needs to be memorable. It can't just be some guy that came to my school for 20 minutes. Mm-hmm. And so they're like, well, we'll give you 20 minutes. 20 minutes? What am I going to do in 20 minutes?
Right.
I need a full day.
At least.
And so there was a lot of pushback. And I thought, I can do two things: complain, or I can do something about it. And that's why we started the Quadro Youth Foundation. The Quadro Youth Foundation was really set up for the young people to come to us. And we wanted, and in my mind was like, I wanted to get it away from school. I'm not saying school is wrong or they're doing anything wrong, but I don't want the young people to look at this as school. And if you remember, the very first thing that I told these young people in that room when we did that event, I said, this is not school. Mm-hmm. And then, boom.
They relax. You can see their shoulders go down.
Yes.
And you know what was also very interesting about that as well, too? Because the parents heard that, and then they relaxed.
Yes.
And the parents were there to drop their kids off, and I would say more than half stayed.
They're like, oh, goddamn, this is pretty good.
And they stayed, and they loved it. They all loved it. That's all I got was pure love, great feedback, and I'd like to be a part of that again. It was good, man.
Yes.
And so congratulations for doing that. I think it's good for not only the kids, but also the parents and the adults, because they haven't been taught it. So if they haven't been taught it, how are they going to teach it to their kids? And for me and for you, I had to go and search for it to find it. And I'm like, why is this hidden? Mm-hmm. But you know, telling that story now about Henry Ford, and even if you go back to the Rockefellers and all that, they did take that stuff out of school. They took financial education out. So I don't want to go too deep down that rabbit hole, but if anybody listening, go and check it out. You'll see.
At that point in time in history, it was not necessary for everybody to be on board with financial literacy.
I get it. Yeah,
we were building the society that we have now. Mm-hmm. The problem is now we're here, and you're going to need new skills. We're building it's going to be a new age, but you cannot use the same systems, the same things that got us here in the first place are not going to be the things that are going to take us to the next level.
Right, for sure. I want to touch on this last segment here, which is the market. We know a lot of people got themselves in trouble. Mm-hmm. What are your thoughts on it? What do you think happened? I mean, we obviously know interest rates is what did it, but can you touch on that? What are your thoughts on it?
Well, you know, I've said it many times, you know, when people win all the time, there's a false sense of confidence that people have. Mm-hmm. And at that point in time, people, you know, they overextend because they keep winning. Winning's good, right? Les Brown. We didn't talk about Les Brown, but, you know, Les Brown is another one that I would say one of my favorite speakers and educators. But he has a beautiful quote, and I'm not sure if it's from him, but I heard it from him. Life is a fight for territory. Once you stop fighting for the things that you want, what you don't want will automatically take over. Mm-hmm. And so what happens is people stop doing the things that they did to get them there in the first place. They start taking unnecessary risk. They stop underwriting. The term that I heard in 2021 and 2022, early 2022, is sharpening the pencil in terms of underwriting and due diligence, meaning that you're going to fudge the numbers. You're going to sharpen the pencil. You're going to, you know, instead of 3% vacancy, let's make it 1.5. You know, let's make the numbers work. And what happens when you do that, and the market doesn't do what you were expecting, there's nothing in place. There's no cushions. There's no safety nets. They're all gone because you took all this unnecessary risk. I'm all about expansion. You know, I think people should expand, but expand responsibly, right? And, you know, I've always been, you know, my entire career, you know, people have always, you know, they get excited when they meet me, and you know, they get excited when they see me, you know, on stage or whatnot. But when they start digging deeper and I start seeing what I actually preach, which is solid, invest in a solid market, invest in a solid strategy, stay with things that make sense to you, right? I've never steered off to things that were shiny. I stayed with multifamily. Numbers have to make sense, right? This is not speculation. And by, you know, do everything possible to get away from these P notes, you know? And what happens is people get shocked. They're like, what? What do you mean? Well, you know, I'm not a gambler. I don't go to the casino. I believe in having a solid strategy, and I'm not going to deviate from my numbers and my formulas. And I'm like a blue chip investor.
We also grew up, though, in the era of Don Campbell. We grew up in the era of Rain. We grew up in that
exactly, yes.
like, you know, behind the curtain. Remember Behind the Curtain, where you'd read the article, the title, and it'd be like, the real estate market's about to crash. And then you'd actually read the article, and it was like, well, yeah, nah, it's actually going to be okay. And so then you had to be, and then one of the things that I loved about him too is that he was always talking about be a sophisticated investor.
Yes.
And he's like, for all you leaders out there, if you're going back, because he brought leaders to those events. Yeah. And he's like, if you're going back and you're teaching your investors, make sure that you're sophisticated and you're teaching them to be sophisticated. Run your numbers. If the interest rates are here, make sure you run them higher up here, and look for cash flow. No speculation. And that's one of the things that I stayed out of that condo market. I kept all my investors out of that condo market. Now, of course, some of them went into it, but I definitely 100% didn't push it, because I just came from, I'm glad I got taught that way of, this is not a get rich quick. And people thought it was a get rich quick, and it's not. It's far from it.
There's lots of YouTube videos that would suggest the opposite.
Yes.
And so when times are good, everyone's good. Everyone's good. What happens is when the tide goes out, you find out who's been swimming naked. Yeah. Right.
Now, where do you? Sorry, go ahead and finish that.
No. Basically, what I was going to say that is going back to what we were saying earlier: stand in your truth. Right. And sometimes, you know, people did all the things right, and they found themselves underwater. Right. And they did everything right. They didn't speculate. They did their numbers. They did the due diligence. They looked at the market conditions. They did everything right, and you can still find yourself in an uncomfortable situation.
100%.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, part of real estate is leveraging.
Yeah.
And when you leverage, you know, that money then also goes up as well, too, that carrying cost. And so you've got to be able to now take a look at it. And like you mentioned earlier as well, too, is kind of push that ego aside and say, hey, what do I need to do to put myself back to a proper position so I'm not uncomfortable anymore?
And by the way, I'm not, you know, I'm also subject to what's happening in the market. Like Jim Rohn said, the same wind blows on us all, right?
Oh, lots of Jim Rohn quotes. I love that one.
Yeah, but it's true.
It's how you set your sails.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. And so, you know, when I see something bleeding even a little bit, I stop what I'm doing and I focus on, okay, let's figure it out. Let's repair. Let's fix it. Let's do whatever we got to do. You know, some mortgages doubled. Okay, what can be done? Okay, this, you know, some deals I had to throw more equity into the deal just to make sure it's no longer bleeding. Right.
I'm glad you're saying that. 'Cause that's a good point, and it's good for people to hear that. Yeah. Because they think, okay, well, I'll just wait for the Bank of Canada to get back to where it'll be easier on my pockets. Yeah. You can't wait. You gotta act. You gotta pull the trigger.
You have to. You have to. There's no other way out.
Yes. Nobody's coming to save you.
Yeah, exactly. Look what, like, I mean, I'm watching this Netflix special, Bernie Madoff. Right? I don't know if you watched it.
No, I haven't. Is it good?
Oh, it's good. Okay. It's good. I mean, it's like...
you went deep with the voice. It's good.
Oh, it's good. But I mean, he was like... And excuse me for anybody that's listening if it's not the exact amount, but I recall it was like $60 billion Ponzi scheme. $60 billion, right? And how did it get that way? Like the question that everybody has is like, how is this possible? So he had a building on the 23rd floor, and again, who's ever or listening to this or watching this, I'm probably getting the floors wrong or whatever, but on the 23rd floor, he had a legitimate stock business, brokerage, which was highly successful. On the 17th floor, he was running this Ponzi scheme, which is $60 billion deep. Why? Right? Well, it didn't start off that way. It happened, whatever, when he started 40 years ago, he made a little mistake, and he couldn't tell his investors that he had lost them $30,000. And so he was in denial, and he actually he continued to pay these investors because he had loans to pay out these investors so they wouldn't feel the losses. And then, these investors were happy because they were getting consistent returns, and it just became this ugly little secret that kind of, got out of hand.
And became this big, huge snowball. And once that snowball starts getting big and rolling down that hill, you can't stop it, because you take it from Peter to pay Paul, and Paul to pay.
And it just became this, where some people jumped off roofs because they're like, they lost all their family fortunes. We're talking about some families lost like $100 million. You know what I mean? Because at the end of the day, there was nothing. There was no investments. There was zero. There was nothing there.
So then, based on that, what would you tell investors that have been significantly impacted by what's happened, where they may have been caught up in lending money out in promissory notes, or, and if they're like, I don't want to ever do this again? What do you say to them, or what do you tell them, or, how do they move forward?
I would say that, there in life you have lots of crises, right? COVID for some, divorce, business competitors. I mean, this is just one loss, right? And if you decide that you're going to blame yourself, you know what? There could be worse things. You have your life. You have your family, hopefully. You have your health. You have so many things that are positive in your life. And this was maybe oversight. Maybe you trusted when you shouldn't have. Maybe take inventory on that. But ultimately, it's okay to contract. Just don't live there. Go back to expansion, and now take the learnings and do it better tomorrow.
Yeah. No, you know what? That's great advice.
Yeah.
That's great advice, because you're still alive. You can't blame yourself. You're most likely probably blaming that other person or whoever it was where you invested, but but you're alive still, and so you can learn from it, and you can rebound from it.
And now you know this.
Right.
You never do that again.
Correct.
Right?
Yeah.
I remember my first lawsuit, I was devastated, and then my lawyer was like, "Welcome to the party."
Yeah.
I'm like, "What do you mean?" He's like, "Well, finally you have something that people want." I'm like, "Oh my God, I made it." I actually called my mom. I'm like, "Mom, you won't believe it. I'm getting sued." And she was like, "Mijo, are you crazy? What are you talking about?" I'm like, "Mom, like, I've made it." Someone wants to sue me, and it was basically I waived my conditions when I shouldn't have. Even though everyone told me not to waive my conditions, and I heard it everywhere. I needed to feel it. It cost me about $40,000, the whole lawsuit, by the time I'm done paying all the lawyers or whatnot. But man, did I feel bad about myself, and I realized that, this is all part of the game. You know what I mean? Like, you have to sometimes pay tax, just like in Monopoly. You feel good, and you're going around collecting your... Yeah,
you land on community chest or take a chance.
Yeah, or tax. Like that kid in that video.
Yeah.
He's like, I got to pay taxes.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so that's life, right? Sometimes, they get a tax bill that's unexpected, or you got to... it's a toll. You're paying a toll, right?
Yeah.
That's the way you got to look at it. And I would say it's okay to take the time and dwell in it a little bit if that's what you have to do, but move towards expansion as fast as you can.
A couple more questions, and we're going to wrap it up. This one I think is an important one. So where we are in the market, where do you see things going? Where should people put their hard-earned money? Do they leave it here in Ontario, in Canada, in the U.S.? Do they move to other countries? you know, you pay attention to this stuff. They're printing more money. There's a lot of negativity out there. You see it, you feel it, you hear it. You know, I try to stay away from it as much as I can, but you can't help but have it impact you in some way, even if it's a little bit. You still feel it. What are your thoughts on what people should be doing right now?
I'm going to go back to what I said before. Solid strategy. Invest into things that make sense to you. Reduce your level of exposure. Leverage, but in a responsible way. Get education and mentorship. I mean, all the things that, you know, I've been talking about for years, you know, Jim Rohn said.
This is quote number 9.
So they asked him, how do you think it's going to be in the next 10 years?
Oh, I love this one. About the same.
About the same as the last 10, right?
Yeah.
And because here's what I know about.
Well, I think he actually said, what's it going to be like? It was the same, about the same as the last 2,000 years.
Yes, exactly.
Opportunity and failure or something like that. Right.
But here's what I know about myself.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm going to win. Mm-hmm. Right. So that's a belief that I have. Right. Every year they change the rules in the NHL. But every year professional hockey players show up and play the game within the new rules. Mm-hmm. So capital gains has increased. Whoop-de-doo. The same wind blows on us all, right? Like, I mean, it's not like someone else has an advantage that I don't have. We just got to figure things out, right? We got to figure things out. And what happens is if you have sound fundamentals, you have the education, the community, the mentorship, you're going to make the right decisions based on your scenario in your business. And I'm a big believer that, you know, it doesn't matter the market. You should invest where you're going to get the highest return on investment on your money. And so sometimes people are just pigeonholed to their backyard and they only invest in their city. Well, what I love about multifamily in my strategy, and this is what I teach our students, and if people want to know exactly what I teach people to do, come to one of my events. I mean, I'm not hard to find. I'm everywhere, as you know. Mm-hmm. But ultimately, you know, what multifamily does is it gives you the ability to not have to invest in your backyard. Actually, the further away that the building is from you or the apartment building, the better it is to run, in my opinion, because, you know, if that building is beside you, something goes wrong, you're going to go see what's going on. But if the building's in another province or another state, you got to call someone. So that means you got to build and leverage a team, right?
Yeah.
Which, I mean, to me, that's key.
Yeah, because now you're not emotionally attached. You just you're attached more to the system and the process.
Yeah. So some people would say, hey, it's better in Alberta, or it's better in Saskatchewan, or it's better in the U.S., or it's better in Ohio, or it's better in Florida, or it's better in El Salvador. I mean, we just made the game. But ultimately, what I would say is invest in what's best for you, right? And don't be so stuck on a particular market, but look at the return, right? Be more focused on the return, not the politics, because the politics are always going to be there. And if you're investing based on on exterior things that you have no control of, then you're going to be very disappointed, you know? Because someone says, I'm going to the U.S. Well, I mean, I don't know what's going to happen after this election. It's going to be very interesting. And so look at the market. Look at that particular market. Does it have the fundamentals that you're looking for? And it could be Alberta. You know, I'm making money in Ontario. I'm making money in Alberta. I'm making money in Ohio. I'm making money in Florida. I'm making money in El Salvador. Wherever, I mean, I'm gonna move my pieces. It's like a chess game, right? And so ultimately, I'm looking for a return versus a particular market per se.
Yeah, very, very good advice. I almost feel like I should title this podcast, "The Rules Are Always Changing. It's How You Play the Game."
I love it.
Yeah, that's what I was just writing down there. I like that. It came to me while you were talking. I'm like, that's brilliant. I love it. Last thing I want to ask you is, how are you expanding? Who are you potentially maybe partnering with? Yeah. Is there any kind of reveal that you want to share with us?
You know what? Something that and I before the podcast I shared with you. Look, we have a plan of so we're doing a lot of building and constructing, and I'm just having the time of my life, because it's never been it's never been this way, because everything I've done in my life, I had to fight, since the moment I came out of the womb, and I've been fighting for this and fighting
for air.
Yeah.
Fighting not to get clapped in the butt.
Yeah. I was in a war zone, and all of these things. But, where I'm at right now, everything is flowing. Everything flows. And, my goals are being realized, and I'm in a position now where I'm a builder, right? I'm building. And I've never, ever imagined in my entire life that I'd be in this position. The buildings that I saw when I was a little kid, and I was like, whoa, imagine someone is collecting these rents, and my friend said, nah, this is for rich people. I'm now building those buildings.
Yeah, it's like full circle.
Yeah, and when I came to this country, my mom had $30 in her purse. I mean, we came with nothing. We lived in project housing, right? And to be in a position where now I'm providing housing for other people is incredible. But what I'm most proud of and what I'm most excited about in terms of my expansion is my biggest build in my entire career, which is we're going to be building a school in Surrey-Lyon.
It's incredible.
And, that came about from, asking the right questions in terms of, my goal is to inspire the world to create time freedom. And, that's what led me to starting the Cuadro Youth Foundation. And then we started to go to developing nations, because I know that, if I can be the person that can bring the mindset and the personal development and the entrepreneurship ideas and the skills to countries where I came from, Latin America and Africa, then I know that there's going to be balance, right? Because there's people that bring food, people that bring money, people that bring water, but I want to bring the skills. And so we went to Dominican Republic, and we brought these school supplies to these schools, and my whole idea was to bring financial literacy to these schools. And the lady was like, I love it, I love that idea, but we need supplies, right? We need supplies. And so I was so inspired by that I thought, okay, I want to go to the developing nation. So just so you know, we put 6,500 kids so far through this Cuadro Youth Foundation program. My goal is to get to 1 million.
Yeah,
I want to put 1 million young people through this program.
That's incredible.
And so, that's going to obviously help. I have to expand outside of Canada and the U.S. And so then I started going to these developing nations. They're like, that's great, but we don't even have a building to even start. Like, we would love, right now, the kids are going to school underneath a tree. And it's good to talk about financial literacy, but like what we need is schools. And so my mind was like, okay, this is how I can have an impact, And so I started to do all the research on how to build a school. And, now that I have these newfound skill sets in building and understanding land development and building, and I thought, okay, this is a big deal. That this is not just like any, you can do this like, you just snap your fingers, you build a school. I mean, there's a lot of moving parts. And so then within my own community, think about how powerful this is. The second you set out an intention, you start to attract all the right people, the right circumstances, the right ideas, because success is what you attract by the person you become. And so one of our members in Wealth Genius happens to own an organization, Freedom Tree. Her name is Tara. And Freedom Tree, they were building medical clinics for young women, right? For them to go and have some, be able to visit with a nurse or a doctor. Some of these young girls are dying just because they don't have proper medications and things like that. And then she's like, well, we're building the school and we're looking for support. And I'm like, I'm all in.
Yeah.
I'm all in. And so now I'm leaving for Sierra Leone in July, right after our Expand conference. And, I wanted to be the school that Wealth Genius built. And my whole vision was to create this platform of wealthy people, but for what? I want it to mean something. This is not just a community that people are participating in or joining. We're going to do amazing things together, and we're going to start with one school. But my vision, as you know, is expansion, right? And, this will be my biggest build yet, and my biggest raise. It's nothing. It's like $100,000 to build a school, so these young people don't have to go to school underneath a tree. And I'm excited about that. So,
that's amazing.
I'm gonna plug this here, because if you're interested in supporting us in any way, you can reach out to me. You can find me online, whatever, and I'm going to send you the link where you can donate for that.
That's amazing. Alfonso, thank you so much for your time. The one thing that you said there, and it's so true, is that, because of what you've built, you end up just attracting people to you. And then all of a sudden you have this idea and you're like, how am I going to do this? And then all of a sudden if somebody puts their hand up, because your network is so big now, you're like, what? You can help me? It's because of the reach, and it's because of service to many.
Yes.
And then anything becomes possible. Alfonso, thank you so much for your time. I appreciate this.
Salud.
Yes, brother.
Salud.
I appreciate
and anytime, and I suggest people that are listening to this right now, they go back and watch and listen to all our podcasts, because this is like a series.
Yes, it's an evolution. There's no doubt about it, brother.
One question.
Yes.
What the hell is this? This is running away with your water bill. You want me to sign a check for $3 million? Before this, I was gonna buy this building. No toilets. Not one. Is there any toilets on this whole property? The 500K is not a problem. There's only one thing. There's significant capital expenditures. Do you guys have a capital expenditure plan somewhere?